All right, everyone. MarkRogersTV, the voice of college football. Just seconds after Jalen Hurts and Alabama came back to win the SEC championship game, something that they failed to do last year. Well, they weren't even in the SEC championship game. So let me see. The defending national champions won the SEC this year, and they defeated Georgia, the SEC champions from last year. Alabama wins at 35-28 to their credit, coming back in the fourth quarter down 28-14 at one point. A huge miss on a field goal. We don't know that it would have mattered in the outcome. It appeared as though it would, but based on Alabama actually scoring the touchdown to win the game by 7, Rodrigo Blankenship, one of the most dependable kickers in college football, missing, which would have given Georgia a 31-14 lead at that point. But Alabama just exploded. And Jalen Hurts, again, give him all the credit in the world for coming in and throwing the ball better than I can remember him throwing. Very much inspired, came in. And there's been much talk in Alabama circles about not just Tua Tagovailoa becoming an outstanding passer, but Jalen Hurts under the radar becoming a much better passer within this offense during this emergence of Tua that Jalen Hurts has developed as a passer, and we saw it on display today. He threw the ball extremely well. Of course, they took advantage of his running ability. They called different plays with him in the lineup. It was mentioned a number of times during the broadcast that they reverted to the Jalen Hurts offense to make him a little bit more comfortable and call the plays that would work for him. Kirby Smart did everything he possibly could to belie his name. His surname is Smart. He wasn't very. That was just an idiotic. I'm trying to think of a worse coaching decision. Please help me out. A worse coaching decision in the history of college football. You've got a tie game. It's 4th and 11. So I was comparing this decision by Kirby Smart to last week's with Gus Malzahn, who's just desperately trying to stay in the game, do anything to stay in the game against Alabama. He doesn't have a team that's capable of staying in the game like Kirby Smart does. And he actually had on a 4th and 2 or 4th and 3, a very well-designed play. It was a beautifully crafted play. It just went to the punter on the pass, and he wasn't able to get to the sticks and got knocked out of bounds about a half yard shy. That's different in better field position than basically giving Alabama a scoring opportunity. You're at midfield. It's 4th and 11. 4th and 11, and it's not even a well-designed play. It's just it's a straight snap. It's a wildcat type of play. Basically, just find a gap and run, but you're going to have to run 17 yards. And I don't care if you are the number 1 rated high school quarterback in the nation, Justin Fields, you're going to have to run 17 yards to make a first down. That's insane. So I don't know what Kirby Smart was thinking there. He obviously knows a whole lot more about football than I ever will, but his judgment was way off, or somebody was giving him bad advice, but he should have known better. That gave Alabama the very short field to win the game. They didn't have to drive 80 or 85 yards after the punt. They only had to drive 45. And they did so very quickly to win the game 35-28. And then Jake Fromm, who played an outstanding game, maybe a little hyperbole out of Gary Danielson that it was the greatest quarterback game he had ever seen in history. And this guy's watched a lot of football, both from the sideline and on the field, plus from the announcer's booth. The greatest quarterbacking game he had ever seen. So Georgia, unfortunately, is going to miss the playoffs despite this valiant effort, and they may be one of the 4 best teams in the country. We don't know that. Again, I don't play God when it comes to that. I evaluate the resumes, the track record, and the results on the field. I don't say who definitely are the 4 best. I say 4 that earned it. And for me, the tiebreaker has to be, of course, Oklahoma. And if Ohio State can beat Northwestern, they have to beat a very quality football team here tonight. So let's not make that a given. We're probably 10 minutes away from kickoff. So for the next few minutes, I've got the phone line open. I will not stay on past or near the kickoff of this one. I promised that many times, and then I let you guys drag me on the phone for a while. So 860-325-3687. It's 3 minutes until 8 o'clock Eastern time with Ohio State taking on Northwestern. Of course, earlier in the day, we had Oklahoma defeating Texas 39-27. That probably gave Oklahoma a spot in the playoffs. Hope you checked out my instant analysis there. It's Mark Rogers TV, the voice of college football. Who's on the line?
Bash.
Bash. Okay, what you got, Bash?
I just want to say, what a comeback by Alabama.
Mm-hmm.
There's no doubt in my mind that, they're not human. And I think this really woke people up to the fact that, hey, they can be beaten. They had weaknesses exposed in this ball game, and Georgia helped them out with that fake punt that was just terrible. But Alabama took advantage of it, and Jalen Hurts looked tremendous. I did not expect to see that whatsoever from Jalen Hurts when he came into the game. But looking at Georgia, if it wasn't for that missed field goal, and if it wasn't for that big punt disaster with Justin Fields, I don't know if I can really say definitively that Georgia's not a better team than Oklahoma, and they probably have similar resumes in terms of wins, top 25 wins. And, if Ohio State is around the spread with Northwestern, they're, within 3 points of that 14 line. And after seeing Oklahoma today, I think Georgia is the fourth best team if that happens. If Ohio State beats Northwestern by like 14 points, by 2 touchdowns, I don't know, 31-17, hypothetically. And then based off of what I saw from Oklahoma today, how much the refs really helped them out, give me Georgia in that fourth spot.
So the refs helped them out with all the pass interference calls?
Not just pass interference. There were a lot of obvious holding calls that I was just about to lose my mind about with that offensive line. It was insane. They were grabbing up high and they couldn't touch Kyler Murray, and part of that had to do with the officials not really. I don't know if they were watching in the trenches or not throwing their flag, or if they just weren't keeping an eye on it. But either way, letting too much go on one side, and on the other side, they just weren't really letting much go. And I was realizing that with I saw this conspiracy theory that Bowlesby, because the last game was bad officiating too with West Virginia, that Bob Bowlesby was trying to get Oklahoma into the playoff. And that's why officiating wasn't lopsided to the point where Oklahoma should have got killed or something like that. Probably wouldn't have really lost that game against Texas. But to the point where it could give a lot of favorable advantages. The touchdown that actually took the lead for Oklahoma in the fourth quarter, they had illegal formation. They had 5 guys in the backfield, so I did not like that at all.
I know you're a big conspiracy theorist, and there's certainly evidence to your conspiracy theories, but at the same time, what doesn't make sense is that the conspiracy theories would feed into we want the most TV ratings and to bring in the most revenue. And Ohio State actually does that. They play in the highest rated television games of the season.
And this conspiracy theory, it probably isn't true. It's just something that I saw and I'm like, maybe. But you got to think, Bob Bowlesby's goal isn't to promote the college football playoff committee. Bob Bowlesby is going to be promoting the Big 12 because he's a Big 12 commissioner. And he's really what's going to be in charge of the referees in the Big 12 championship game. So the theory is far-fetched, and it's probably not the case. But who knows? Who knows what's happening behind the scenes?
If you're just going to ask me who the best teams are in college football, and this has nothing to do with record, results, resume, or how I would rank them, because I rank them based on the resume. If you're just saying confidence in how good they are, I say Alabama's 1, Georgia's 2, Clemson's 3, Ohio State's 4, Notre Dame's 5, Oklahoma's 5, Notre Dame's 6. Off the top of my head.
I could see that.
That would be my 6.
Even when you're talking resume, I'm not impressed with Oklahoma's resume. They added a top 25 win, but everyone playing this week, everyone that's in contention playing this week, so everyone in the top 6, with the exception I guess Clemson too, since they're playing an unranked opponent. So with the exception of Clemson and Notre Dame, all four of those other teams had opportunities or have opportunities to add to the resume. And look, if you ask me, coming within a touchdown and winning by 2 touchdowns with a chance to go up 3 possessions against #1 Alabama, that's not too bad of a loss. It's definitely the best loss we've seen all year long because no one's come back close to Alabama.
Absolutely. I was interested to see. Now, I was telling my son this, but I knew it wasn't going to happen. When it got to 28-14 and they were lining up for the field goal, or even on that drive when they could have scored the touchdown, I thought, what would the committee do if Alabama got blown out in this game? What if this thing's 49-14? And I knew that wasn't going to happen, but it was headed in that direction in terms of what was feasible. And I just thought, wouldn't that put the selection committee in a bind? I would love to have seen that.
Well, it made me actually think about this. I was thinking, what if Georgia just holds and they win by a couple touchdowns, even 1 touchdown with Alabama? Alabama was the end, right? Well, a couple of years ago in 2015, you probably remember this being, kind of not really outing you, but kind of outing you with you being a Buckeye fan. I guarantee you remember Ohio State's only loss of that season was a last-second field goal against Michigan State.
Of course.
And they got left out of the playoff with probably similar teams, and they were behind the 2-loss Pac-12 champion. So I was starting to think, not that the committee would do this, but there would definitely be a case for that to be done if they were to lose the conference championship and be behind these 2 conference champions, because just based off of their history, and that was a while ago. We're now at like 3 years since that point. But it just got me thinking, like, it's not out of the realm of possibility during that game. It's not out of the realm of possibility that Alabama's left out of this thing. I got to go. I'm going to go watch the Buckeye game. I'll see you later.
Absolutely. Thanks, Bash. Appreciate it. Bash on Alabama's win over Georgia. Exciting game, 35-28. Much credit goes to the Crimson Tide and Nick Saban, who seemed, I don't know if I was just imagining this, but a little crackle in the voice, a little lump in the throat. He seemed quite emotional. He's definitely attached to Jalen Hurts, very loyal to him. Probably should have pulled him earlier in the season last year, but stayed loyal to Jalen Hurts. They continued to win, but had to make the move when he did in the national championship game, which, of course, turned out to be the right move, and he went with a better quarterback, the better player. But he had to go back to Jalen Hurts, and he kept Jalen Hurts invested and engaged by playing him so much this year, and it paid off in this game. Jalen Hurts pulled through for Nick Saban and the Alabama Crimson Tide. So much credit to Alabama in winning the SEC championship against maybe the second-best team in the country, certainly one of the top 3 or 4 or 5, something in that range. I think it's difficult to separate Georgia, Clemson, Ohio State, Oklahoma, Notre Dame to some extent, depending on your theories about schedules and who they play and how good they've been in the past. There are some knocks against Ohio State because of blowout losses this year and in the past, knocks against Notre Dame because of the perception that they don't have the athletes that the other teams do, perceptions against Oklahoma because of the bad defense that played a rather good game for them this day and holding Texas to 27 points. Texas, not a great offense, but they certainly have playmakers on the outside with my guy, Lil Jordan Humphrey, and Colin Johnson, and Sam Ehlinger played another good game at quarterback. But Oklahoma showed a better defense, and I think that's going to be one of the key components to keep them safe, regardless of what happens with the Buckeyes tonight. Ohio State is playing for a Big Ten championship. Unfortunately, I heard this a number of times concerning the Pac-12 championship game last night, but specifically this with the Big Ten championship. I saw this on Twitter a few times that Ohio State is the game is now meaningless. The Rose Bowl is now meaningless, and much of that's very true. And I think that's a sad state of affairs in college football, where a conference championship is meaningless. It's actually more tangible than these stupid playoffs positions that are selected by somebody. If you win a conference championship, you actually did it on the field in a structure, in a system that makes sense, in which you had to play games and then play a champion from another division to win on the field versus the invitational. Maybe we should just start calling it an invitational. I've been calling it a selection process, not a true playoff. It's not a playoff. It's a selection process. It's an invitational. And many may say we would have seen it play out if Georgia would have beaten Alabama, the SEC invitational. But I believe I believe there's only going to be one team from the SEC selected this year. All right, Mark Rogers TV, the voice of college football. Maybe we'll join you later tonight. You guys enjoy the Big Ten championship game. Also, the ACC championship game cannot be forgotten, although it seems like a foregone conclusion that Clemson is a 28-point favorite. That's the state of affairs in the ACC, maybe the worst conference in college football. You'll have to wait until my rankings come out after the season. We'll see how the ACC fares in bowl play. But right now, it appears to be the worst conference, wrestling with the Pac-12 for the championship game to be a 28-point spread. And Clemson has been on a roll, but they gave up a ton of yardage last week to South Carolina and a ton of passing yardage. But I don't believe Pitt is capable of duplicating what Jake Bentley, Deebo Samuel, Brian Edwards, and company were able to put up on the Tigers last week. So Clemson, huge tonight. We would there's a mixed opinion on whether the Buckeyes will win big or not so much. I've got an 11-point game with Ohio State winning, again, 34-23. Appreciate you guys' support. Please subscribe to the newsletter at Mark Rogers TV, the voice of college football, by sending your email to mine, your email to MarkRogersTV at Gmail. We'll get you out the newsletter each and every Monday. And, of course, we'll join you for more instant analysis throughout the weekend. Okay, tomorrow, one last thing before kickoff here of the ACC and the Big Ten Championship. Tomorrow, I'll be live at 11 a.m. Eastern on SG1 Sports. I will be live here directly after, just a few minutes to noon, for the selections, for the college football playoff selections. So if you want to see somebody throw a fit, that might be me tomorrow. Close to noon, between 11:45 and noon Eastern time, right here for the selections. So let's watch the selections together and analyze the selections. To the committee's defense, they have an impossible job that will only be made perfect by Ohio State losing this game. Then it's clear-cut. Alabama, Clemson, granted they win, Notre Dame, and Oklahoma. But if the Buckeyes win, they've got to select between Oklahoma, which appears to be the team, versus Ohio State, and that is a no-win situation, even though Oklahoma appears to have the spot. Again, we appreciate your support, and we will see you guys soon. Enjoy the ACC and the Big Ten tonight, and, of course, the Mountain West as well, with Boise State going up against Fresno State, with the shot of them getting to a New Year's Six bowl game taken away by the tremendous comeback. Credit Central Florida without Mackenzie Milton, coming back from 24-7 down against Memphis, 24-7 down, given underdog status by Vegas this week because of Milton, their starting quarterback, out, one of the best in the nation. They came back from 17 down to beat Memphis by 15. They won it on a 42-17 run to take over the game and win the American Conference Championship. And Central Florida, despite being, 26-0 over the last 2 years with a win over Auburn, will not have a chance to show us who they are in the college football playoffs. That's the state of college football. We will see you guys soon. And if you had anything in the live chat in terms of comments or questions that you want me to respond to, I missed them in the live chat. Please repeat those. Just copy and paste and put them in the comments section of any video right here at Mark Rogers TV, the voice of college football.